in the conversation.
All right.
Oh, it looks like we have Larissa is here.
That's Steve Larissa. That's his last name.
Okay, hold on. There we go. Okay. Cool. So then hopefully people will join up and let's see. We'll be live streaming in the box on the left. Type any questions you have in the box below and vote up any questions you'd also like answered. Okay, so yeah, yeah, it can be really tricky when when people say they would use a service, and part of the reason why I'm pretty adamant about not pitching is for this exact scenario, where there may be a very high likelihood that you just receive two false positives, where someone says they would use a service, but if we look a little deeper at their actual actions and behavior, we might be able to tell that they might not use it.
Right.
So yeah, it's a tough balance to act to make, because I know what it's like to be on those conversations and basically want to know at the end of the day, are you going to use my stuff or not? So it can be really tough to find that balancing point.
Do you think it makes a difference if it's pretty much free for the user versus if it's because pretty much, I mean, they confirmed that they shop online for their wives anyway, and that they use Amazon. So they're really, I mean, they are doing it. I'm just asking, would they use my site to get there, for suggestions, pretty much?
Right.
I think it makes a difference when you're not asking them for money, pretty much.
Yeah, I can see how that might make a difference. And the truth is that any ask at all, any change in behavior is requesting some form of currency from them. And we talk about it in currency because not all the time are we asking customers for actual money, right? Like in your case, you're not asking for money from them. You're asking for a change of behavior, right? Or their time or their attention. So it can make a difference, right? If you were asking them to both switch and discover your site and pay you $100 membership fee, right? That's going to be a difference.
Right.
That said, just because something's free does not mean it's zero cost. Yeah. There's a significant cost to them in having to they'd have to go and search, so they have to spend some time discovering your site.
Right.
B, there's a cost in like trying an unknown service. They've used Amazon, they know how it works, and it may or may not be the greatest thing for solving this problem, but at least they know how it works. So they'd have to, get over some sort of trust issues, as well as giving you their credit card information and all that kind of good stuff. So it's just because it's quote unquote free doesn't mean it's zero cost. And as far as ultimately, will that make a huge difference? If they're already on Amazon and using your Amazon to solve this problem, that's a great indication that they're shopping online, right? Their past behavior indicates they're shopping online. The question is really, do they have a problem with that current workflow? So is shopping online such a pain in the butt that the last time they went to go search for a gift, instead of searching on Amazon, they searched on Google? It said, best gift ideas for my wife. Yeah, because if they take that behavior, if they do that step, that means that yes, they're shopping online, but they're also not satisfied with the options that are out there, and they're looking for alternatives.
Okay.
So if they didn't take that step, then I'm worried. I'm worried because they say, oh yeah, I would love to use your service, but the truth is they would never actually find your service because they're just going straight to Amazon immediately.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that there aren't people out there who would. It might be a question of, okay, how do we find that group of people who really would be early adopters for the service and are already looking for an alternative to shopping on Amazon?
Right.
Cool. All right. There's totally blank in my box unless something went wrong. My connection is not started yet. We'll be starting. Hopefully. Marissa, if you can see this chat down here.
Do you have people on that other link?
It looks like we've got potentially 2 viewers out there, so a couple other people.
Okay. So can they ask questions through that link?
Yeah, exactly. They can, there's a questions box. So if you can see this video, there's a questions box over there, and you just type in any questions you've got about customer development and then vote up the ones you like, and then I will answer them. There's also a chat box directly below here, and then you should see a chat box that says everyone in the workshop, and you can actually chat with everyone down there, including me. Yeah, so yeah, I clearly you're here. I would sort of expect Chris to be here. Was there other confirmation that that other folks would hop in?
Yeah, I'm not sure why Amir. Let me see.
Oh, Chris is here. So Chris is, I guess he's watching the live stream. How would you tackle an interview for a type of product which there's no sort of analog? All right. All right. So Chris, if you're available and you want to hop in the Hangout, you're more than welcome to. But I'll try and answer your question. So the interview script that I use, and I'll give you guys a link to an interview script generator that I actually just built that might be able to help you guys out. The interview script that I use really doesn't talk a lot about analogous products. So we don't really use the whole, the Yelp for blah, 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 or the Uber for blah, blah, blah. That's because we're not talking about our product at all during the interview. What we're talking about is the customer, their problems, and then the things they're actively doing right now to try and solve those problems. So I guess my question to you then would be, what's the problem that your customer segment has, and are you having difficulty asking questions of your customers about the problems in that context? So yeah, if you want to toss in more detail in the chat, that's fine. Okay, so I'm going to, that one I just answered, and then hide. So Miriam, how are you going to go about figuring out which of the? So you mentioned there was at least 2 products I heard about, but was there 3? Was there another one?
Yeah, there's another one that's a travel site, and the reason I'm kind of moving, it's pretty much the basic idea of it is that you put in where you are and how much money you have, and it tells you where you can go for that.
Gotcha.
A lot of people have been telling me that I should stay away from the travel industry, that it's consolidating, that it's tough to get into, that there are a lot of restrictions. So that's why I'm kind of focusing more. Travel sites and
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hold on. Just like it sounds like Chris has got it. Chris, if you could just mute the video that's playing, because we'll end up hearing an echo of it.
And how much money you have, and it tells you where you can go for that.
Chris, you there?
Yeah.
Cool. So it sounds like the video is actually playing. The live stream video is playing somewhere. All right. Well, he's muted his microphone, so that also solves the problem.
Okay.
But yeah, if you want to just mute the video that's playing wherever it is, and then unmute yourself, we'd love to hear your question in more detail. Yeah. So as we were saying, Miriam, how are you going to decide which of those 3 to pursue?
Well, so we, as part of the program, we create a mail list of mentors that we send all of our 3 ideas to, and I've already gotten quite a bit of feedback from that on kind of, just initial thoughts from people, and it seems like everybody's leaning towards the towards GiftBro, towards the shopping site. And then we're doing customer interviews right now to kind of, decide whether or not the problem exists that we're trying to solve. So at the end of this week, I guess, going to be pretty close to deciding which idea I'm going to pursue.
Cool. Cool. So what's the hardest part for you about doing the interviews?
I think for me the interviews themselves are not hard. It's for me. I think for me the question that I'm asking myself is, how do I know that I have the right people? Because all of my ideas are pretty broad in terms of audience, right? So I mean, men who are in a relationship is a pretty broad audience. Singles is a pretty broad audience. People who travel is a pretty broad audience. So it's like, how do I know that the 5 people or 6 or 7 people that I talk to represent some kind of a, that's good data, I guess. So
Right. No, that's a really, again, that's another awesomely self-aware thing to be noticing about this. Like, are you actually talking to the right people? And as we saw with the two that you the two people that you've already talked to, talking to the right types of people is going to really make a difference. I've got a video and a little tool that I created that talks about basically specifically who we want to talk to during these interviews, and it calls out the difference between a segment. If you're familiar with the innovation adoption curve, there's the segment of people called the early adopters, the early majority, the late majority, and the laggards. Are those words familiar to you?
Yep. Yes.
Okay. So what I try and do is I actually call out 4 married folks. So for people who are shopping for females, how can we tell if a given person is an early adopter versus a early majority versus late majority versus laggard, right? Because what we really want to do is we need you to be able to go find the early adopters, right? Because eventually you may win over all of that segment, but let's start with the early adopters, right? We'll start there, and then eventually you'll sort of build success by winning on them and then early majority. So then the question is, well, how the heck do you figure out whether any given person who's shopping for a woman is in one of those categories, yeah?
Right.
And so what I talk about in the video, and I'll put it up here. I'll put it in the chat room. Let's see if I can find it. Early adopter focus. So it's the.
I'm just going to do a little audio test here. And
then sounds great.
Okay, great.
Option behavior curve is the name of the video. Let's see if I can get my Google to work. There we go. Adoption behavior curve on YouTube. Wilcox focus framework. Okay, well, I'll send that out to you guys maybe via email. But basically, the way it works is we go from the laggards. Laggards are people who literally don't have the problem, as in they're shopping for females, but they have no problem whatsoever. And in fact, if you tried to solve that problem for them, they would reject it. They actively don't want a solution to this problem. So an example might be someone who works for Amazon right now, right? Like, so they're like I don't want a competitor because that means you're stealing money from me, right?
Right.
And then moving over from the laggards into the late majority, these are people who have the problem but don't know they have a problem. Maybe they're buying really crappy gifts for their wives now, but they don't even realize that it's a crappy gift. And so if you talk to them about, like, what's the most difficult part about buying a gift for your wife, they would say, I got no problems at all. But you can tell. But if you looked at the sort of the gifts they were getting, toasters and vacuum cleaners.
Their wives.
Exactly. As we move into the early majority, what differentiates an early majority is someone who knows that they have a problem. Yeah, Amazon isn't giving me the best options, but they aren't actively looking for a solution, right? So that might be where those two people that you talk to, they might fall into that category. People who, they'll use the service once someone else tells them about it, but they're not pained by it so much that they're actively looking for a solution.
Right. Right.
And then early adopters are the group of people who right now they have the problem, they know they have the problem, and they're actively trying to solve it.
Right.
So who might be a group of shoppers? So they're male shoppers shopping for women who know that they have a problem with buying gifts online and are actively trying to solve that problem. Any thoughts? Anything come to mind?
No, I wouldn't know like what specific group that would be. I mean, maybe somebody that's kind of early in a relationship or not very experienced in relationships and is still trying to kind of figure out what women like and don't like.
Okay.
Like younger guys maybe that are not, just so younger guys maybe that have not either, haven't had too many relationships, and then maybe guys who just started, their first, serious relationship or something like that and want to be, good at it. Or maybe even then, on the flip side, guys that have been married for a long, long time and are kind of like running out of ideas.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's awesome. So you're already differentiating between these two groups. That's awesome. And then what we can do is start thinking about, okay, for that younger group, like what are some behaviors, we call them externally observable behaviors, that you might be able to see a group of people exhibiting that tell you they are actively trying to solve this problem.
Oh, okay.
So think about your young guys. They're new to relationships. They want to get it right. What kind of behaviors might indicate that someone is in this group is looking for an alternative to shopping on Amazon?
Hashtags on Twitter?
Awesome. Okay, great. What kind of hashtags?
I'd have to, I don't know, like need help shopping or gift for my girlfriend or I don't know. I'd have to like do a Twitter search and figure that one out, like what people are actually hashtagging with. So
Yeah.
I know for like the dating app, I follow like the single life hashtag.
Okay.
To kind of see what problems they post for that one. So maybe I can do the same, like figure out what the hashtags would be in relation to the app, to the shopping site.
Right. That's great. Well, Mother's Day is coming up, right? You might be able to search for, hashtags having to do with Mother's Day, and see what people are asking. What do I buy my wife for Mother's Day? Hashtag Mother's Day gifts or Mother's Day problems or something. That's one idea.
Yep.
Another idea that came to mind, there's thinking of that younger group of men. For a while, that book, The Game, was really popular amongst that group of people. There might be like some sort of Facebook group, or there might be some sort of Yahoo group or Google group where these guys are trading tips on gift giving. And if you could go figure out, does that group of people are they actively looking for better gift giving solutions? Right.
So Justin, I really love all your input. I don't want to hog the whole time. If there, I just I could talk to you for 2 hours about this. I just want to make sure that other people also get a chance to ask their questions, because I already have like so much helpful stuff from you now that I feel bad. So,
no worries. I don't think you need to feel bad because we don't have that many people hanging out. Chris, I saw that you had a question, and I'm going to definitely get to you for sure. Larissa, you posted a question in the group. Or maybe it's Steve Lee.
Steve.
Oh, Steve. Okay.
Yeah.
So Steve, if you want to hop in, I put it in the chat room in the chat group down on the bottom a link. If you want to just join us, you can ask your question there. It might be easier, so then we can just do this in real time because it doesn't look like we're going to have so many participants. But cool. Yeah. So Chris, what's up, my man? How can I be of service?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for doing this, and sorry for the fire drill. It's been kind of chaotic. And Miriam,
no worries.
Thanks. So, the technology that I'm working on is actually really kind of large, and in the interest of time, I'm not going to get into it. So let me ask my question in the form of a metaphor. Suppose that you invented a anti-gravity machine.
Okay.
And you wanted to do a customer interview for that. What sort of so the basic setup is this. I believe that, well, so one of my ideas is a cloud-based operating system that it's not really anything like a typical operating system. It's something really quite radically different. And the value proposition is not something that people even imagine. I would liken it a little bit to anti-gravity.
Sure.
Right. So I can ask I'm a little bit perplexed about how to ask questions to lead people there.
Good. Okay. Well, I would love to help you with that, and for two reasons. One, hey, it would be fun to have an anti-gravity machine. But more importantly, I think this is sort of the crux of inventor failure, basically, and founder failures, where you're at right now. Because it turns out that while we as human beings love the idea of innovation, customers hate it. Customers hate innovation because innovation for the sake of innovation is not useful to anyone, right? No one wants to buy something just to prove that they could buy it or prove that it could be done. People only buy stuff when it solves a problem for them. So it doesn't matter whether your machine, turns off gravity or whether your machine helps get you laid, like Miriam's stuff. It doesn't matter like how simple it is, the thing that you're creating, or how complex it is. It's all about solving a problem for people. So who has the problem that your anti-gravity machine is going to solve, and how would they describe that problem?
Okay, so briefly, the basic value proposition, excuse me, is this. My supposition is that current operating systems and the myriad of apps that we have to find, install, buy, maintain, learn how to use, and then struggle with to interoperate in order to get at the data sources that we need, do what we want, and store the information in a cogent way and share it among our colleagues is fundamentally inefficient. So what this service intends to do is just eliminate the apps and allow and provide an interface that allows you to basically log in with a browser, identify data sources, pipe them into transforms, pipe them into little logic blocks that do sorting, and pipe them into, virtual storage stuff. Now, what is actually being drawn on the screen is really just a model that gets compiled into a cloud service behind the scenes and run instantly. And so the value proposition is basically efficiency. And so I think you've already answered my question. Given the scope, so I went right all the way to the bog with my first question. All right, and okay. I am actually sort of hesitant to launch a venture on that, and I've whittled it down to something much more practical. The bottom of that technology stack that enables that actually is something that's designed to help current web developers handle Node.js and HTML5 apps. And so I'm probably going to spend the majority of my outreach effort there, because the other stuff is honestly still too unwieldy, I think.
Well, that's awesome, right? That you've got this vision for sort of a grand plan that will sounds like it could, sort of change the way that we think about operating systems, the way we interact with data, which is phenomenal. That's awesome. To be able to have that vision, but then also to be able to meet customers where they are to solve the problems where they have right now, the Node.js developers, that's going to be a killer combination. But you can't have one without the other, and I think you sort of know that. We can't be like selling anti-gravity machines in a world where everyone's perfectly fine standing on the ground, and in fact, we're all very grateful that we're standing on the ground. So we got to sort of work people up towards the innovation that we want to see. Yeah, I mean, by focusing on those Node.js developers and then understanding the problems that they have and then helping them solve them, I think you might be on the right track.
All right, that's really helpful. This is kind of my visceral feeling about it after an enormous amount of thinking on my own, and I just sort of wanted to hear somebody else say it.
Right? No, I've been there. Yeah, it's just nice to have someone else sort of echo exactly what you were thinking. But yeah, go forth and niche. I think that's the right way to go.
Yeah, and at the bottom of the stack, your videos are pretty helpful, and I think I basically understand the script, and I've worked in that space. And a lot of these, the narrowing it down and meeting them where they are right now is based on spending a year sitting in a Series A startup with an army full of 25-year-olds watching them running around in circles.
Well, so speaking of script, I wanna, if you guys still have the site there open, if not, no, don't worry about it. I'll send you a link in this chat room here. It's customerdevlabs.com/script. I've just put it up here. And I've just turned on the exercise in the sort of the live stream there. There's a link there that you can actually generate a customer interview script based on just like 3 parameters. You put in 3 variables, like what's the role of your customer, how would they describe the problem, and under what situation would they likely encounter the problem. Click that button, toss in your email address, or click generate, and it will actually build you an interview template that you can use as a starting point. So it has the questions that I call out, as well as what to look for in those questions. So as you're asking people, what should you be listening for, and you can use that as a starting point to go put together your interview script. So feel free to use that. That's what it's there for, and share it with anybody else who might find it helpful.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm gonna yield, and I appreciate the time.
Sure, of course, of course. So Jeannie, it sounds like you're having audio problems. Is that true? I know your microphone is. Oh, there you are.
Yeah. Hi. I can hear you just fine. I just can't hear what Chris is saying to you.
Oh, interesting. All right. Well, he was being super rude. He was using all sorts of foul language. It was good that you didn't hear it.
That's what it sounded like from what you were
saying. Yeah. How is anything I can help you with?
Yeah. I feel like my interviews are going really well, and I like the questionnaire that I have. I got some good feedback from my husband, who is big into research too. But the one question that I have that's still lingering is, because all 3 of my ideas are very similar, I'm kind of looking at, like, I know what the problem is, I'm interviewing people about the problem, and I'm offering different solutions that address that one problem instead of 3 different problems. Is it appropriate for me to, after we outline and just kind of discuss what my customer's problem is, to then say, I'd like to ask you about 3 different proposals that are being considered and get feedback on each one?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the question that you want to answer during these interviews. It sounds like the question you want to answer is, hey, which of these 3 should I go build? Is that a fair assessment of what you're looking to do?
Kind of. The question is more along the lines of, which of these 3 are customers more interested in seeing be built?
Okay.
So one of our cohort members is kind of looking at the same problem I am and coming up with a different solution. And so I ended up working his proposal into my questions as well. And it seems like the way that the interviews are flowing works really well. If you'd like me to, I can copy and paste like the notes of my questions so you can see kind of how I'm working it.
If that's going to help you solve your problem, then you're more than happy to. I just sort of want to differentiate before we dive into this a little bit more. Typically the goal of these problem interviews is to really validate, does anyone care about solving this particular problem? You know? And that what you're talking about is fundamentally different. What you're talking about is a solution interview. Typically that comes later where you're like, I am convinced people are trying to solve this problem. Now, what's the best way to solve the problem? So I just want to sort of call out, it sounds like, yeah, you are very comfortable that there are already people trying to solve this problem, and so you're done with that phase. Is that true?
I guess I've kind of combined both, and that was sort of after our mentors from this week. There was debate whether that was an appropriate way to do things, and evidently I fell on the side of it makes sense for me to be doing it this way, and so I started doing that. And so the first 10 questions or so are, well, like 15, 14 questions or so are really delving into my customers' perception of the problem and what their challenges are, what they feel like is missing as a resource in this particular area. And it just naturally seemed to develop from there of, okay, are you interested in a service that would address this problem? The answer has been categorically yes. And then to be able to offer, like, are you interested in, like, what is your thoughts on this solution versus this solution versus this solution?
Yeah. My gut in that debate is that I would fall on the opposite side of the spectrum. And the reason is, and you may have this data, do you have data that says that these people are taking action right now to try and solve the problem that you hypothesize?
Yes.
What's that data?
So, well, I'll go back to kind of stating what their problem is. They feel like there is a lack of information when it comes to reliable and easily accessible impact that charities have, and so they are looking for ways to accurately assess what charities are contributing and what if their work is being effective.
And then how would you describe these people? What's their role, or what self-identifying title would they accept?
They are donors.
Okay, so it's a donor, and then what's the action that they are taking that tells you that this is a problem they are actively trying to solve?
They are researching extensively using kind of this DIY approach how to find charities that they would like to donate to.
Okay, great. So then you found some subset of donors that are actively looking for, they're putting together some DIY solution for this problem. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Great. And then you want feedback from them about what you can build to ensure that they will discover and use the product? Okay. If you're confident that they are really doing this DIY thing, then I am game. I'm game to go explore solutions. It's really easy. If there's no reason for them to say no to that question, would you be interested in using this service? So you basically just said, please say the word yes to me, right? Would you be interested in using this service? Like, it's like, well, if I say no, there's no service available. If I say yes, then maybe there's some service out there, right?
And that's why I like it that I'm giving them 3 different options, because each of those options are addressing that problem in some way. So they can say, like, they're given an out. They can say no to any of them or even all of them.
Gotcha. Okay. So all I'll say is that you have identified a way to prioritize those 3, which is great, right? And if that's what you're looking for, then awesome. Keep going. You're doing something great. that just because, let's say one of them gets like 80% of people are saying, yes, this is the one I want, we still don't have any data that they will actually use it. Does that make sense? So
I
we have
can
data
see
that,
that, yes.
that one is preferred over the other. Now, that said, we do have data that says that they are putting together, cobbling together a DIY solution. That's a great indication, right? So that's a high correlation. But yeah, I think what you're doing is great. If you're trying to prioritize between these three solutions and see which ones they want, offering them and getting their feedback on them is the great way to go.
Okay, thank you for your feedback. I appreciate it.
Sure thing. Yeah, keep it up.
Thanks.
All right, gang. Well, that looks like everybody. So yeah, unless there's any other questions, we can all get back to talking to our customers.
Sounds good to me. I appreciate your time.
Sure, of course. Best of luck.
Yes, me too. Thank you so much. This was super helpful.
Good to hear. All right. See you later.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye.